Welcome to today's Catholic Daily Readings from Christus Dominus Bread of Life. A reading from the first book of Samuel. And the Lord said to Samuel, "Fill your horn with oil and approach, so that I may send you to Jesse of Bethlehem, for I have provided a king from among his sons for myself." And when they had entered, he saw Eliab, and he said, "Could he be the Christ in the sight of the Lord?" And the Lord said to Samuel, "You should not look with favor on his face, nor on the height of his stature, for I have rejected him. Neither do I judge by the appearance of a man, for man sees those things that are apparent, but the Lord beholds the heart." And so Jesse brought his 7 sons before Samuel, and Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen any of these." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Could the sons now be completed?" But he responded, "There still remains a little one, and he pastures the sheep." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and bring him, for we shall not recline to eat until he arrives here." Therefore he sent and brought him. Now he was ruddy and beautiful to behold, and with a stately face. And the Lord said, "Rise up, anoint him, for it is he." Therefore Samuel took the horn of oil, and he anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord was guiding David from that day and thereafter.
My shepherd, I shall not want. In fields of green he leads me, where quiet waters run. My weary soul he restores, my wandering heart he guides along the ancient paths of life, where mercy still abides. Through before me, though enemies surround, oil of mercy crowns my head, and grace is pouring down. My cup is overflowing with blessings I cannot name. The shepherd walks beside me and calls me by my name.
A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians. Brothers and sisters, for you were darkness in times past, but now you are light in the Lord. So then walk as sons of the light. For the fruit of the light is in all goodness and justice and truth, affirming what is well-pleasing to God. And so have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead refute them. For the things that are done by them in secret are shameful, even to mention. But all things that are disputed are made manifest by the light, for all that is made manifest is light. Because of this it is said, you who are sleeping, awaken, and rise up from the dead, and so shall the Christ enlighten you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. And Jesus, while passing by, saw a man blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind? Jesus responded, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but it was so that the works of God would be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him who sent me, while it is day. The night is coming, when no one is able to work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had said these things, he spat on the ground, and he made clay from the spittle, and he smeared the clay over his eyes. And he said to him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which is translated as, one who has been sent. Therefore he went away and washed, and he returned seeing. And so the bystanders and those who had seen him before when he was a beggar said, Is this not the one who was sitting and begging? Some said, This is he. But others said, Certainly not, but he is similar to him. Yet truly he himself said, I am he. Therefore they said to him, How were your eyes opened? He responded, That man who is called Jesus made clay, and he anointed my eyes and said to me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went, and I washed, and I see. And they said to him, Where is he? He said, I do not know. They brought the one who had been blind to the Pharisees. Now it was the Sabbath when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Therefore again the Pharisees questioned him as to how he had seen. And he said to them, He placed clay over my eyes, and I washed, and I see. And so certain Pharisees said, This man who does not keep the Sabbath is not from God. But others said, How could a sinful man accomplish these signs? And there was a schism among them. Therefore they spoke again to the blind man, What do you say about him who opened your eyes? Then he said, He is a prophet. Therefore the Jews did not believe about him that he had been blind and had seen until they called the parents of him who had seen. And they questioned them, saying, Is this your son whom you say was born blind? Then how is it that he now sees? His parents responded to them and said, We know that this is our son and that he was born blind. But how it is that he now sees we do not know. And who opened his eyes we do not know. Ask him. He is old enough. Let him speak for himself. His parents said these things because they were afraid of the Jews. For the Jews had already conspired, so that if anyone were to confess him to be the Christ, he would be expelled from the synagogue. It was for this reason that his parents said, He is old enough, ask him. Therefore they again called the man who had been blind, and they said to him, Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner. And so he said to them, If he is a sinner, I do not know it. One thing I do know, that although I was blind, now I see. Then they said to him, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I have already told you, and you heard it. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? Therefore they cursed him and said, You be his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but this man we do not know where he is from. The man responded and said to them, Now in this is a wonder, that you do not know where he is from, and yet he has opened my eyes. And we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshipper of God and does his will, then he heeds him. From ancient times it has not been heard that anyone has opened the eyes of someone born blind. Unless this man were of God, he would not be able to do any such thing. They responded and said to him, You were born entirely in sins, and you would teach us. And they cast him out. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found him, he said to him, Do you believe in the Son of God? He responded and said, Who is he, Lord, so that I may believe in him? And Jesus said to him, You have both seen him, and he is the one who is speaking with you. And he said, I believe, Lord. And falling prostrate, he worshipped him. And Jesus said, I came into this world in judgment, so that those who do not see may see, and so that those who see may become blind. And certain Pharisees who were with him heard this, and they said to him, Are we also blind? Jesus said to them, If you were blind, you would not have sinned. Yet now you say, We see, so your sin persists. Join us for today's reflection. You already know who the blind man is in this story. It is not the beggar. A man born blind receives his sight, and the religious experts spend the rest of the chapter trying to prove it did not happen. They interrogate him. They interrogate his parents. They interrogate him again. They are not looking for truth. They are looking for an exit, a way to explain away what is standing right in front of them. Why? Because the healing happened on the Sabbath, and if Jesus healed on the Sabbath, their categories are wrong. Their system is broken. Everything they have built their identity on might need to be reconsidered. That is too threatening, so they choose blindness. You have done this, so have I. Something happens that does not fit your theology, your politics, your assumptions about how life works. Someone you had written off does something that surprises you. A situation you were certain about turns out to be more complicated, and instead of adjusting, you dig in. You find reasons to dismiss the evidence. You interrogate until you find a loophole. You protect the system at the cost of the truth. The Pharisees had spent their lives studying Scripture. They could quote it, debate it, apply it to every situation. And when the Messiah stood in front of them healing a man born blind, they called him a sinner. Their knowledge became the very thing that blinded them. How much of what you think you know is actually preventing you from seeing? The blind man had no training, no credentials, no theological framework. He just had an experience he could not deny. I was blind, now I see. That was his whole argument, and it was enough. He did not need to win the debate. He just needed to tell the truth about what had happened to him. What has happened to you, not what you have read about or heard in a homily. What has Jesus actually done in your life that you know is real? That is your testimony. That is the thing no one can argue with. The Pharisees could not make the blind man unsee. They could throw him out of the synagogue, but they could not take his sight back. Samuel almost made the same mistake the Pharisees made. God sent him to anoint a king, and when he saw Eliab, tall and impressive, he thought, This must be the one. God corrected him immediately. Do not judge from appearance. Man sees the outside, I see the heart. 7 sons passed, all of them rejected. The one God wanted was not even at the gathering. He was out in the fields, doing the job no one else wanted, too young and too unimportant to invite. David, the overlooked one, the one his own family had dismissed. Who have you dismissed? Who have you looked at and concluded that God could not possibly use them? The person with the wrong background, the wrong education, the wrong past. The person who does not fit your picture of what a godly person looks like. You are making Samuel's mistake. You are seeing the outside while God is looking at the heart. And here is the harder question. What if you are the one being dismissed? What if you have internalized everyone else's low expectations of you? What if you have decided that, because you are not impressive by the world's standards, God cannot have big plans for you? David was keeping sheep while his brothers attended the sacrifice. He was not even considered, and he was the one God wanted. Paul tells the Ephesians something stunning. You were once darkness, not in darkness. You were darkness itself, and now you are light in the Lord. The transformation is total. You are not the same thing in a different location. You are a different thing entirely. But here is the problem. You can be light and still close your eyes. Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. Paul is writing to Christians, people who have already been transformed, and he is telling them to wake up. You can have the capacity to see and still choose to sleep. You can be light and still live as if you were darkness. The Pharisees were not pagans. They were the most religious people in Israel. They prayed, fasted, tithed, studied, and they were blind. Not because they lacked information, but because they were so certain they already had all the answers that they could not receive anything new. What are you so certain about that you have stopped asking questions? What part of your faith has become so familiar that it has gone dead? Where have you stopped expecting God to surprise you? The blind man kept getting pushed. The Pharisees kept interrogating, and every time they pushed, his understanding grew. First, Jesus was a man, then a prophet, then from God, finally, Lord. His theology developed through pressure. He did not have all the answers at the beginning. He just stayed honest about what he knew, and Jesus met him at each stage. You do not need to have everything figured out. You need to be honest about what you have actually experienced and stay open to what comes next. Jesus found the man after the Pharisees threw him out. Do you believe in the Son of Man? The man did not even know who that was. He asked. Jesus told him, and the man worshipped. The beggar who had never seen anything became the first person in John's Gospel to worship Jesus. The scholars who had seen everything missed him entirely. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul, but you have to be willing to follow. You have to admit you do not know the way. The Pharisees refused to be led because they were convinced they were already at the destination. The blind man let Jesus send him to the pool, let the Pharisees push him around, let the whole experience reshape everything he thought he knew. Who is really blind, the one who cannot see or the one who refuses to?